I'm Lee, and this is my little postcard to you about my creative life. And today I wanted to talk to you about this quilt that I've been making for quite some time. I'm not sure if I've shown it to you here before or if I've just posted about it on Instagram. So if I repeat myself, sorry, but it was that long ago. If I have shown it, then maybe you've forgotten too. I started this quilt in the winter. I had been to a yoga retreat at the end of last year, and one of the things I came away with was that out of necessity for a while, my life had become quite austere, and that wasn't necessary anymore. And that actually I just wanted to look for a bit more joy, and so this was something I decided to do to kind of make that happen. So I just went online and I chose a jelly roll, not because it went with colours in my house or because of any of the other reasons that I usually think about in makeup when I decide to make something. You know, I'm someone that likes planning stuff. I like to think about how it's going to work in my life. But for this project, I just wanted to do it for the fun of the fabric. And just because it was a cheerful thing to do in the middle of winter. And so I found this jelly roll. It's by Moda Fabric. I think it's by Crystal Manning, and the fabric line is called Ladybird. I just really enjoyed the colours and the prints. It appealed to me, and so I bought it. I decided to use this oblong kind of pattern because I'd seen something like this online. I think there is a pattern somewhere. I made this up to make best use of my jelly roll. To make best use of the dimensions of the strips. So a jelly roll is a really fun thing. It's a roll that is 2-inch wide strips of fabric, and from the same line. If you don't know about quilting fabrics, people design a line of fabrics that all go together. They'll have similar prints, they'll have a colour aesthetic about them, and you can buy various what they call pre-cuts of fabric. That'll be a package that has a collection from that line. So a jelly roll is 2-inch wide strips that have been cut from selvage to selvage across the fabric, and usually there's about 40 strips in each jelly roll. Sometimes it's different depending on the company that makes them, but yeah, and it comes all rolled up so it looks like a little rainbow, and you can see a little peek of all of the fabrics sticking out, and it just means that it's all cut in a specific way if you have a certain design in mind. I didn't have a design in mind. Jelly rolls and other pre-cut packs are just super inspiring and fun to get, and so fun to unpackage and unroll, and so you get to see all the fabrics. So I bought this jelly roll because I really liked this line. And what else do I have to say about that? And I chose to make this particular pattern so that I could use up as much of the fabric in the pack as possible. And I planned it out and realised that I was going to need a few more strips of fabric in order to get enough blocks to make a rectangular shape. And so I went ahead and got some solid colours in some solid fabrics in colours that were in the fabrics that are on top, basically. and I got enough to make the back as well. I decided that I wanted to use up every little bit of the jelly roll, and so I also made patches like this out of the scraps, the little ends to include as well. Get my money's worth. Not just that, but just because it's fun. I guess too, I didn't want to be left with tiny little, what they call crumbs, tiny little pieces that were just going to sit around and look pretty, and I couldn't bring myself to throw them away. So I decided to use them in the back. And I also used some of the solids like this one just to make a couple of extra squares so I could, I guess, square the quilt off so that I didn't have the odd patch that was just left over. Yeah, and then I made the back. I think these strips are all 6 inches wide, and I made a scrappy back, and then I folded it up and put it away. Well, that's not quite true. I also stumbled across somebody on Instagram who was de-stashing some batting. So I got that in the house and then folded it up and put it away. And part of the reason for that is that when you put a quilt together into a sandwich like this, it takes, so when you put the back and the batting and the top together into a sandwich, you need a bit of space. And in my old house, that usually involved clearing an area and having to move a lot of stuff and dusting. In my new house though, and so it was a faff. And so I was all ready for this to be a bit of a monumental task. In my new house, not so new because I've been here for almost 3 years now, I've got more space to do this sort of thing. And if it does take a long time, I can actually leave it out. I don't have to do it all in one go. But what I learned was that when you actually have space to do a job, it's just a hang of a lot quicker. So you would have seen at the beginning of my little chat here that I spent yesterday morning, whilst it was raining, basting my quilt. I've just pin basted it with those bendy safety pins that you get. And so it's all ready now for me to do the quilting. I used a wool batting. This was the one that I got from my friend who was de-stashing. And it's really, I've used this batting before. I really like it. It's very light and airy, not quite as dense as a cotton batting. I haven't actually used a cotton batting in a quilt. I felt them. I have used polyesters. Well, the only polyester I've used was made out of recycled bottles. Yeah, so for this one, I wanted it to be just really light and lofty. And so I chose this lovely, soft, bouncy wool batting. I've decided to actually do the quilting. I'm just going to do straight line quilting because, you know, I haven't made a lot of quilts. I think I'm probably an advanced beginner. But I decided because whatever thread I use is going to show up on the back, particularly in these dark sections, that I was going to use a colour that would be contrasty and actually look nice. And the thing about whenever you use a contrast thread, it always shows up. Any little mistake you make is going to be visible to the naked eye. Not that I'm that bothered because it's just for my own use and my own purposes. So I've ordered some thread that's in this kind of this orangey red colour, and when that comes I'm going to set it up on the table in the corner here and just take my time to quilt it. I've got the binding all ready to go. yeah, so I'm quite looking forward to just having that set up in the corner of the living room and being able to just sit down and do it whenever I feel like it. So anyway, it was lovely to chat to you today. I hope you enjoyed my little quilting episode. I'd love to hear about what you're up to, and I'd love to see you again soon. Cheerio.